Greetings. This is General CJG here, coming to you with, a State of Star Wars podcast that's about, Obi-Wan Kenobi. This time we're dealing with an expanded universe, not reference book, but it is kind of like a retelling of the events of the 6 movies and some new stories, but from the perspective of Obi-Wan. It's the life and legend of Obi-Wan Kenobi. And we'll be taking a look at it. But joining me here is.
This is the one, the Spider-Man Maniac. Good to be here again.
Yep. And we'll be tackling this book, piece by piece. So, okay, so Doan, where do we begin with this book?
Let's see. Chapter by chapter, I guess.
Yeah.
So basically, the book begins with Luke going around looking for something in Ben Kenobi's house, and then he finds a journal about Obi-Wan's life before the prequels, kind of, and the original trilogy.
Yeah, indeed. This is basically taking place in 3.5 ABY. This is basically the same time as Shadows of the Empire. So this is basically when Luke is on Tatooine, pretty much going to construct his new lightsaber. So that's where this is taking place, at least this prologue. So yeah, indeed, and this is the same journal that has the instructions for how to build the lightsaber, and a few entries and stuff regarding what Obi-Wan did prior to the events of the original trilogy. So there are some things, but there are things that the book does not say, which we'll get to as we go with each chapter. So there is that. But that's the basic gist of the prologue. Luke goes to Ben Kenobi's hut and pretty much finds the journal, and he's starting to build his new green lightsaber, and also reading some entries and stuff in the journal. That's pretty much it for this prologue. So, yep. There's not much to say on the prologue other than those bits. You got anything to say?
Yeah, I don't really think there's much, but let's see. Yeah, there's nothing. We'll have to go. There's the few things whether Luke is really wondering whether Darth Vader is really his father, blah, blah, blah. Why didn't Ben tell me the truth? We're just basically talking about the movies again, so not that important.
Well, yeah, we'll later hear more about that when we get more into this book. So anyway, now we get to chapter 1, and this is basically, this involves Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. They were in a planet called Ord Sagat. They were pretty much investigating the disappearance of a certain Republic ship. So that's what this chapter is, and in there, Obi-Wan meets Dexter Jester for the first time ever. Yep, chronologically. So that happened. So that one, what are you gonna say on this one?
Well, I see that they mentioned Xanatos, Qui-Gon's first apprentice.
Oh yeah, indeed, and also mentions planet Ilum, where Obi-Wan was constructing his lightsaber.
Yeah.
So there's pretty much that, and I was surprised that that this was the first time Dexter Jester was first met Obi-Wan. And it's even more surprising when you find out that these events of Ord Sagat, they're pretty much first mentioned in this book. They're not actually in another Expanded Universe book. You can believe it. So that's an extra bit of info that this book brought for us. So there you go. There's that indeed. Now, this planet was previously mentioned in some other magazines, but this specific story, it's been mentioned only here. So there's that indeed. Other than that, I don't think I got anything else to mention in chapter 1. Do you got anything?
Telos was mentioned. I think that's was Telos from KOTOR?
Telos? Yeah, it would be from Knights of the Old Republic. It would be, yeah. Telos 4. It was first mentioned in, actually, its first appearance was in one of the old Star Wars Marvel comics, issue 16.
I see.
So there is that. So yeah, there is plenty of reference in this chapter. So yeah. Anything else mentioned in chapter 1?
Let's see. No.
Well, in that case, now we go into chapter 2. And this is where we'll get into Obi-Wan's perspective on the events of episode 1. So, what do you got for this one, Doan?
Chapter 2 is basically another one of those movie recaps.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see. There's more of Obi-Wan's perspective of the events, thinking why would Obi-Wan bring such a boy like Anakin, and considering that
Qui-Gon.
important is mystery to Obi-Wan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, indeed. It's basically episode 1, but from the perspective of Obi-Wan. So, which in the movie was definitely following more Qui-Gon. So, yeah, this is definitely an interesting perspective on those events. So, yeah. Some small bit of info for this chapter that I didn't know until reading is apparently Qui-Gon had actually made arrangements to help Shmi pretty much be free from Watto's ownership, which I didn't expect. Apparently, he made it so that Shmi could somehow find some sort of rare crystal so that she could pretty much buy her freedom from Watto with it. So,
Yeah, that part is kind of weird because she didn't earn her freedom, and that lens or whatever that thing seems to be useless at all. I guess Watto stole it from her because somebody had to buy it from Watto in episode 2. So I don't know what happened to that. I guess Qui-Gon gave her the lens crystal thing, and then she couldn't buy her freedom. And then, yeah, I don't really understand what happened with that. I guess Watto stole it from her.
or the crystal simply never made it to its target. So, could be either one. So, yeah, that was one of the things that happened in chapter 2. So, there is that. Is there anything else you want to mention about chapter 2?
The part where Obi-Wan didn't really fully know Anakin or knew him, but he still tried to train Anakin because that was what his master would have wanted. Yeah, that's something.
Yeah, pretty much fulfilling his master's last words. So there is that, indeed. Okay, well, in that case, go now to chapter 3.
Chapter 3 is interesting for the reason that it mentioned the part where in Phantom Menace novelization, where Anakin saves the Tusken Raider from being killed.
Yeah.
And it also mentions the future Dark Crate. Is that a spoiler?
Not much. At least if you're immersed in the Hispanic universe, it pretty much shows the origins of Asharad Head before he became Darth Crate.
And the interesting part with this is that if you watch what's that comic called? This must be the comic for whatever Republic Mission to Malastore, or what was it?
It's Emissaries to Malastare.
Yes, so in that part there is a comic book scene featuring a small scene where Asherad and Anakin meets, but in this part they actually go into detail with that and shows that they're having a conversation with each other.
It wouldn't surprise me that this book is pretty much referencing that part, considering that Emissaries to Malastare is one of the listed sources that this book is referencing.
Yeah.
So there is that. Here's one interesting bit of info from that discussion. There's this one bit where Anakin is pretty much saddened that Asharad Fett has all his skin covered, never being able to touch things with his fingers or feel air against his face. While it was Head's choice to be dressed like that because of his Tusken Raider roots, Anakin says that he could not live like that ever.
Yeah, it reminds you of something, doesn't it?
Yeah. It is sad, but it also ironic. So there is that. Yeah. So that's pretty much chapter 3. Now, chapter 4, we're back to recapping the events of the movies, but from the perspective of Obi-Wan. This time, episode 2, Attack of the Clones. So, Doan, you want to take it on this one?
Like this again, there's not much with this thing other than the movie itself, Obi-Wan meets Jar Jar, Padme, and Mission to Ancient.
Mhm.
It goes through the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed. There are two noteworthy things that I found in this chapter. One was that apparently, right as the Clone Wars began, that some Jedi had actually not really approved the Clone Wars, even refused to fight on it, and actually left the Jedi Order. I didn't know that was a thing. Was that actually a thing?
It was. There were some Jedi who left the Order or joined the Separatists.
I see. Okay, so there's that. Then there's this other thing where we forgot to mention that there's actually a few parts in this book where there's some interlude sections where it actually goes back to the present, where Luke is reading the journal and cooking the lightsaber crystal. So, so he pretty much this interlude. There's this one entry that Luke found about the Clone Wars in Obi-Wan's journal, but it was short and it didn't say much. That it pretty much is that it just says about Obi-Wan, pretty much him and Anakin fighting the Clone Wars, and that Clone Wars happened, but it did not go into detail whatsoever in most of the events of the Clone Wars, particularly the Episode 3 stuff. And that's because most of that info that Luke finds out is until the Dark Nest trilogy, or even until
I
Twin
think,
Ghost.
yeah, there would be the continuity reason, but I think Obi-Wan doesn't really want to remember all those stuff because,
Oh yeah, that's actually mentioned in here that apparently the book says that the reason why there's not much catalog in the Clone Wars because Obi-Wan doesn't really want to remember it.
yeah, because he lost Anakin after the war and the blah blah blah.
Let's also not mention the entire war was pretty much a manipulation of the Sith Lord.
Yeah, so basically, someone wasted your time for 3 years. You might actually regret your life.
Yeah, so yeah, that's why there wasn't much of the Clone Wars in that journal entry. So
And it also says that according to Obi-Wan, that the Clone Wars unofficially began 10 years ago before Battle of Geonosis, which the Sith Lords had been planning since
yeah,
Battle
that
of
can be
Naboo.
true. It can be true, yeah. So that much is there. So yeah, that's chapter 4. Anything else to mention on this one?
Let's see. Yeah, not really, but Luke going in the books and actually reading the history part.
It's interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
chapter 5. Now this is an interesting one because this is actually a pretty much an entire battle in the Clone Wars that is all up in this book. That this book, Life and Legend of Obi-Wan Kenobi, pretty much made it up and added to the EU. So basically, it's a battle in the system called Farquhar 3, and it has Obi-Wan and Anakin and another Jedi pretty much battling the Separatists. And it's just one battle where you pretty much see their pretty much their how they're fighting against the separatist stuff. And Commander Cody was there as well, and the Chadra Jedi that was called the name of that Jedi, if I recall, was the Technope. That's his name. Weird name. Apparently he's a Chadra fan Jedi.
And another thing interesting is Obi-Wan mentions he dueled a Iridonian Zabrak who used a double-bladed lightsaber, and he killed him in self-defense. I wonder what that's talking about.
Oh yes, I have that written in my notes. Yep, I want to mention that this is yet another source that says that yes, Darth Maul died in Phantom Menace. Sorry, Dave Filoni. So, yeah, add that to the list of sources that are pretty much saying, yeah, Darth Maul not only is he Redonian, but he pretty much died in Episode 1, The Hands of Obi-Wan. So, yeah, there's... And
it also mentions Asajj Ventress escaping the scene which was in Obsession, I remember.
Yeah, it mentions several things about Asajj Ventress, from not only her escaping obsession, but it also mentions the Battle of Omadaun, which is from Star Wars Republic issues 61 and 62, if I recall.
It's weird that Obi-Wan mentions both Grievous and Ventress, but there's not a single mention of Dirge. I found that to be weird. Okay?
I think it's probably because he just appeared. No, actually, he's appeared in multiple battles. Yeah, you're right. It is weird. So I guess they have more impact on him. I don't know. So there is that.
And it also mentions that after this Jedi, whatever the fuck his name is, I can't pronounce it,
Are you,
died, and
are you talking about the Chadra Fan Jedi?
yeah,
Techno?
basically Anakin is going to another phase of why can I save these people?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, it is indeed something. Here's an odd thing about Asajj Ventress, and I need to ask you: did Asajj Ventress have her two lightsabers previously be able to be combined together and make a double-bladed lightsaber, or no?
Well, I think that's what TCW saw from it.
Yeah, well, that I mentioned that because apparently this book actually mentions the Ventress was able to do that, but I didn't remember any single comic or source before TCW that she could do that.
I mean, did Komari Bosa do that?
No, I never saw her do it. So I think this is probably the only TCW reference that we have to deal with in this book.
No, this thing came before TCW.
Actually, it came after TCW. The movie
What?
released in August 15. So
Wait, is this from 2008?
this is from August 27, 2008. It's 13 days after TCW movie came out. Yeah, even I had to double check the dates when I was reading it. So, and I can confirm, yeah, the movie came out first.
I see.
So there is that. So yeah, that's pretty much the only TCW reference. I'm glad. It's an easy one to deal with. So, indeed.
And yeah, there's Darth Maul thing, blah blah blah. He died. Good.
I do have one thing to mention about chapter 5, and it's that the journal that Luke was reading in Ben's hut, it tried its hardest to differentiate Anakin from Vader. Like really hard in trying. There was not a single mention that put both together at all.
And it's kind of weird. They, well, Ryder Windham wrote Asajj Ventress' planet as Rataka, despite the fact it's Ratatak.
It's a spelling mistake. So, which is the same case for when we hear the first entry of Darth Vader in this book. It's Darth Vader for some reason. So it's just spelling mistakes. So so that's what it is. But whatever. So it is funny, but still. So yeah, I find it interesting, but also know why the journal makes it so hard to differentiate Anakin from Vader. I figured that Ben probably thought that Luke would not know that Anakin was his father until much later after he encountered the journal or something. I think maybe Obi-Wan thought that Luke would probably visit the hut before Luke would even face Vader in Cloud City. That's what I think. So, what do you think?
Yeah, seems like it. There's another interesting fact that Obi-Wan considered Vader to be evil and Ventress not to be that evil, and she was gonna be she was redeemable because.
Apparently, it's because Ventress had fear inside her, fear of being alone. So
And if you go back from the very first page, not first, but the second chapter, I guess, Obi-Wan never understand how Qui-Gon could consider someone as evil as Xanatos to be his friend, which is similar to how he and Anakin later become friends after they turn to Force Ghosts.
Yeah, indeed. So,
And Obi-Wan also mentions General Grievous was mostly machine and how Vader now is similar to Grievous.
I think Grievous was definitely more machine than Vader ever was. Because I never saw, aside from I guess the biological eyes and the heart that Grievous had, aside from that, Grievous always acted like a droid or a robot, never really as a living being of sorts. Whereas Vader, you could in some ways see that he was a living being.
Yeah.
So there is that. So yeah. Anything else to mention on this chapter?
And it also mentions that Luke has never heard about people like Asajj Ventress, Count Dooku, which, how the hell do you not know who Count Dooku is? I mean, I could understand you not knowing Asajj Ventress, but not knowing Count Dooku makes Luke look like a goddamn moron in this.
I'll make it easy. 19 years in Tatooine, barely any news at all other than Order 66 and pretty much the Empire ruling. And to make it even worse, pretty much Vader and Palpatine ruling the entire galaxy and pretty much manipulating all sorts of media and sorts, to the point in which probably they didn't even felt like it was worth mentioning Count Dooku whatsoever, or the Separatists.
Yeah, but Count Dooku was the leader of Separatists. That's like someone in the real world not knowing who Adolf Hitler is. Type of levels of stupidity we're seeing here.
There is that. But given how long it's been since the end of the Clone Wars, some details in the history might either erased or they're pretty much shaken. So by this point, it's not of their own possibility that Luke pretty much had never even come across those names. Not to mention he was with the rebellion after leaving Tatooine, so they will have even less info in the Clone Wars, at least to some extent. So it's not unbelievable that Luke didn't know about those two names. So there is that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so chapter 6, it's kind of a short one, but it is slightly important. I say slightly because it's yet again movie events, but this time it's the events of episode 3. But it's not all of episode 3, it's actually just the finale of the lightsaber duel between Anakin and Obi-Wan. We're pretty much just seeing what Obi-Wan was thinking all the way through. Once he said, "It's over, Anakin, I have the high ground." And up until there, when he pretty much talks to Padme, and she says they're still good at him. I know. So it's from there all the way to there. And that's pretty much it. So
there's a scene where Obi-Wan takes Luke to Nar Shaddaa and through spaceports to get to Tatooine, which seems to be the original scene.
Almost. I know there's certain other Hispanic Universe source that actually details Obi-Wan trying to get the infant Luke to Tatooine, taking a long road. So I don't remember which news source, but there is that. But yeah, he did took the long route from getting to Polis Massa all the way to Tatooine.
And it also mentions that a pod racer with species dog. I wonder if that's Sebulba.
I don't know about that, cause I mean maybe I don't know. We'll have to see. It's been like 10 something years. I don't know how long. I don't know how old ducks can age. So, what do you think? Do you actually think it is Sebulba?
There's a story about Anakin's rematch with Sebulba and his son, but there's a dog in Tatooine who is also a pod racer. There's not that many descriptions when it comes to those.
I can firmly confirm that's not Sebulba. Just checked, and no, he doesn't appear whatsoever in this book. He appears in The Rise and Fall of Darth Vader, but not here.
It also mentions that the dog says like when looking at Obi-Wan, he's like, "Hey, no human could move that fast," and Obi-Wan's like, "Aren't you tired using Force mind trick?" And basically getting him to be quiet.
I don't blame him. He needed to pretty much keep a low profile, so it makes sense. So there is that. But yeah, that dog is not Sebulba. I pretty much confirmed that it's not him. So yeah, it's just a random dog. So there is that. Anyway, anything else to mention in chapter 6?
No.
Okay, chapter 7. Now this all the way until chapter 9, they pretty much deal on on Obi-Wan pretty much living on Tatooine. So let's go with chapter 7. Let's begin with that. So chapter 7, it's pretty much Obi-Wan just keeping an eye on Luke. However, apparently Owen was not really pleased that Obi-Wan almost daily walked close to the homestead to pretty much supervise the safety of Luke. And Owen told him, can you please stay away? Just not really get close to us.
Yeah.
And yeah, obviously Obi-Wan did not like that, but Owen made a compelling argument. That yeah, what if the Empire track you through here or something? So
And
just stay
and
away.
here, Obi-Wan, when was in some kind of a bar,
Mm,
he says like he names decides to call himself Ben from then on.
yeah, Ben Kenobi. So
And when he was watching, let's see, the news,
the Holocaust
wait,
news.
is this Holocaust? He saw about a massacre in Kashyyyk, wasn't it?
So
Was it?
basically, okay. So basically, what happened in this chapter, other than obviously Obi told him to stay away from the homestead, Obi-Wan also found a hut in the Junland Wastes, which is pretty much what eventually became Ben Kenobi's hut, the same one we see in Episode 4, and so on. And
Yeah.
he pretty much
Oh
destroyed it.
yeah, now I know it.
And
The
then,
that the part where Obi-Wan sees in the news like Holocaust that group of Jedi were killed in Kashyyyk, and he learns that the man responsible for that was Darth Vader, and Obi-Wan is shocked that Vader somehow survived Mustafar.
yeah, this is actually an expansion on that one scene from the book Dark Lord: The Rise of Darth Vader.
The
So,
last chapter.
exactly. So this is basically an expansion of what happened in that. So basically, Obi-Wan learned through the Holocaust news that pretty much Darth Vader was alive and well and in a full clad dark armor. So yeah, and that's where he gets pretty much in contact with Qui-Gon through the Force. So it's pretty much that same scene from the book. So there is that. Then later, Obi-Wan goes to buy some extra things and make sure that Luke and the aunt and uncle pretty much live safely. So, and from there, we go to the next chapter, because I don't think there's anything else to mention in this chapter. Does it?
No.
Okay, chapter 8. Now here, this one gets interesting because this is pretty much another. It actually has two things to mention. One is in regards to Obi-Wan finally realizing that Anakin had killed the Tusken Raiders in the camp, the same ones that killed his mother. Yep. So on this part, there were only 3 to 4 people, as far as I know, that only knew about this atrocity. Padme, Palpatine, Qui-Gon through the Force, of course, and
Asherad hat.
yeah, a short head. So yeah, Obi-Wan never knew about this until here. So yeah, and Qui-Gon was
And
talking to Obi-Wan, explained to him that Obi-Wan still had a lot to learn, so on and so forth. So it's plenty of interesting stuff. And then we come, of course, a short head. So yeah, so Dolan, do you want to take it away?
yeah, the weird thing about it is Asherad head just keeps saying that, hey, the settlers are keep killing my people, the Tuskens, and Obi-Wan is like, I don't care. And Obi-Wan's personality is kind of weird here for some reason because Obi-Wan is saying like, I don't care whether your Tuskens are getting killed or not, just go away from this place.
Well, there's 2 reasons for that. One, obviously, he's protecting Luke Skywalker in the homestead. That's one. But two, and most importantly, Tusken Raiders, well, at least in the EU timeline, they pretty much relish in all sorts of violence and stuff, and they have a hatred for settlers. So
Yeah,
no
but
matter
they
what
do have a
Obi-Wan,
proper reason for not liking settlers.
there is that, but Tusken Raiders, you can hardly. You can hardly negotiate or talk to them unless you pretty much at least have some history with them. Good history, not the history that Anakin had. So either you're a shard fed or something like that. So, and because they were under the leadership of a shard head, well, let's just say that they were not going to stop until Obi-Wan had pretty much stopped a shard head. And well, that's exactly what happened because Obi-Wan and a shard head, they pretty much engaged in a lightsaber duel. And
This is and this is basically a recap of Legacy, I assume.
it's pretty much a recapping of a certain flashback scene from Star Wars Legacies, issue 16. Yep, and Obi-Wan wins, cuts one of the arms of a shot head, even removes his mask. So yeah, Tusken's pretty much left a shot head alone.
Yeah, this would eventually lead to Azure has different story, but for now, let's go back to Obi-Wan.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
indeed.
but the weird thing about this is like they tried to connect this plot with Obi-Wan's discovery about how Anakin killed the Tuskens, but he doesn't really ask any of those questions to Ashara Hat,
It's
and how he dealt with how him and his Anakin's relationship developed after Anakin's incident with the Tusken Raiders.
I think it's probably because Obi-Wan didn't want to tell anything about Anakin to a shot head, since a shot head was pretty much on a killing spree right now. So that could be the reason why. So there is that. Anything else to mention on this chapter?
Well, it also says that Obi-Wan never saw Ashara Hat after that.
Yeah, that much is true. So, yeah.
And Ashara Hat actually never returned to Tatooine.
Well, there's that indeed. So, yeah. Now we go to chapter 9. Chapter 9 is a short one, but definitely an important one because it pretty much shows Obi-Wan meeting for the first time Luke Skywalker and another kid in person for the first time, at least where they can actually like see each other and talk to each other. So yeah, 13 years after the events of Episode 3, and this is pretty much, well, Obi-Wan senses that Luke is in danger, and apparently Luke and some other kid called Windy, they were pretty much caught in a sandstorm and they required immediate assistance. And well, let's just say a Krayt dragon was very close to eating them alive. So, but Obi-Wan managed to stop the dragon by putting him to sleep with the Force and managed to rescue both kids.
Yeah, that's a really weird coincidence or not, or intentional. How do you have a Krayt dragon appear in the next page right after you dealt with Ashara Hat? I think that was intentional.
Actually, keep in mind, the duel of Ashara Head was years earlier before this.
No. The way the chapter is constructed. How
Oh.
do you have a story about Ashara Hat in the previous chapter, and in the next chapter, a Krayt dragon appears? Like, they're not even trying to be subtle about this, are they?
I guess not, but that's what Ryder Windham did, so it still worked. So there is that. But yeah, so that's where Luke and Obi-Wan for the first time ever introduced each other. So yeah. The crazy part is that at the end, Obi-Wan manages to rescue both kids and bring them to Guardians.
Their parents and uncle.
But Owen was like pretty much, leave this place, Ben. Leave. Get away. Like not even thanking him or anything, like nothing. Just leave. And which that was something. So yeah. Then of course chapter 10, unless you got one last thing to mention about chapter 9.
Oh wait, in here he says like, does Luke ask if Obi-Wan is shocked that he can't really tell Luke about the details he knows about his father and sister and all because it isn't the right time or whatever.
Well, yeah, it wasn't the right time yet. It would be until episode 4 where pretty much more ready.
And this scene, it says like, when Luke asked, did he know Owen?
Did Owen knew?
No, did Obi-Wan know Owen? He's not really trying to answer those type of questions. He says like, he doesn't really answer a question on whether he knows Owen.
No, he doesn't.
Personally.
Because that will lean more into the past and how the hell Luke even ended on Tatooine.
Yeah.
There's that. So speaking of the events of episode 4, well, now we get to chapter 10, which is pretty much the events of episode 4 but from Obi-Wan's perspective. So, okay, that one. So where do we go from this one?
It is the 19th year on Tatooine. The book literally says that.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see. Obi-Wan sees Luke, and he also sees an astromech, and he wonders, hey, that can't be R2-D2, but it is R2-D2. So he wonders if C-3PO is somewhere, and C-3PO is indeed somewhere. And Obi-Wan's like, this can't be a coincidence. It is the will of the Force. Something like that.
Yeah, because apparently in Star Wars, there's no such thing as luck or coincidences. It's
I
only
mean,
Force.
there is luck, but incidents of actual luck and it is more likely a will of the Force. It's more likely. There are lucks, but it is highly less likely.
Yeah, you could say that. So there's that. So that's pretty much the episode 4, but from the perspective of Obi-Wan. There are some extra bits of new info that we get here that were not in the movie. Like, for example, right after Obi-Wan tells Luke that you must do what you feel is right, in the hut, we pretty much see what Luke and Obi-Wan were pretty much talking about in between that, all the way to the scene in which we see Luke and Obi-Wan and the droids arrive to the destroyed sandcrawler. So we get more context in between the scenes that the movie obviously left out, or they were not there at the time.
And Obi-Wan also sees the hologram of Princess Leia, and he instantly knows who she is. And when Luke asks who is she, Obi-Wan's like, she is Princess Aldron, and does not give details because that will be quite inconvenient for the situation.
There is that, yeah. There is that, and yeah, this is what is in chapter 10, and basically episode 4. Chapter 11 pretty much is the same. It's pretty much Luke, Obi-Wan, the droids. They're on their way to Mos Eisley, pretty much. So there's not much extra here from what I can tell.
And in this part, I see that they say that he doesn't believe Han Solo actually managed to do the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs, despite the fact that he actually does. I think it was in Rebel Dawn.
Yes, it was Rebel Dawn. Well, put it simply, maybe Obi-Wan just thought that was either a marketing stunt from Han Solo and the media. No idea. So there is that. Obi-Wan just wanted a ship that could be fast enough to just get him to Alderaan at that point. So there is that. Also, pretty much see what Obi-Wan was doing inside the cantina before pretty much see him slicing the hand of
Wonderful. And Dr. Everson.
Yeah. So we saw what Obi-Wan was doing and what he was talking about. So there is that. And that's pretty much it for chapter 11. I don't think there's anything else to mention on that one.
Yeah.
So there is that. And chapter 12, now this is where it pretty much involves what Ben was doing in the events of the Death Star, episode 4. So right after he pretty much leaves Luke with Han and the droids. So yeah. So Doan, what do you got to say on this one?
It's like he senses Darth Vader's presence, and then he finally meets Vader after 19 years.
Yep. And their confrontation went, well, pretty much like the movie, as far as I know.
But it also kind of describes things in a weird way because the book describes that Obi-Wan never saw Vader's full cybernetic armor and his helmet and all stuff. I found that to be also weird as Luke not knowing Count Dooku levels of weird.
By not seeing the armor, you mean as in Obi-Wan never saw underneath the armor? Is that what you're saying?
No. By Obi-Wan, the book describes that he doesn't know how Darth Vader's cybernetic incarnation looked like.
Oh, no. It says
he
that
never saw.
What the book actually said, that even if he never saw the cybernetic incarnation of Darth Vader in the Holocast news, he could still recognize him through the Force. That's what he said. So it's not saying that Obi-Wan didn't recognize Vader. It's that even if he had not seen him before, he would still know that's Anakin.
I'm thinking like the book is describing that Obi-Wan never saw the quote-unquote Darth Vader, the full helmet and the suit version of Vader.
I don't think it was that because in which part are you saying that happened? Right as they're going to
Oh,
fight?
yeah.
Okay, so the part where so as he entered the tunnel, he sighted a tall, shadowy form at the tunnel's other the end. Even if Ben had never seen Darth Vader's cybernetic incarnation via HoloNet broadcast on Tatooine, he still would have sensed the power of his former apprentice, now concealed within black armor. So that's what it is. So it's pretty much saying that even if I had never seen that Darth Vader was alive or in the armor, I still would have recognized him face to face. That's what he's saying.
Mm.
So it's pretty much that. So yeah. So there is that. Then the duel begins, and it's pretty much how it goes. Obi-Wan, what he wanted was pretty much distract Vader and the stormtroopers so that pretty much Luke, Han, the droids, and Leia would pretty much leave aboard the Falcon. And they managed to do so, but Obi-Wan knew that the only way for them to leave was for him to sacrifice himself to and let Vader kill him.
Yeah, and it also says that Obi-Wan purposely called Vader Darth to mock him.
Yeah, it is pretty much mocking him. So
Yeah,
there is
that's
that. So yeah, that's what happened in chapter 12. Anything else mentioned in that chapter?
uh
No. Okay.
no.
Then chapter 13. This is where it involves Obi-Wan's life pretty much as one with the Force, as a Force spirit of sorts, or this embodied spirit. So, and it's the events of episode 5. So, yeah. What do you got for this one, Doan?
Let's see. Obi-Wan community. Oh yeah, I think Mimban is that the planet from Splinter of the Mind's Eye.
That is correct.
So the book basically tries to explain that Obi-Wan somehow intervened. I think that wasn't actually in Splinter of the Mind's Eye in neither versions.
Mm.
But it says that Darth Vader should have died, but not really. But he didn't and survived.
Well, that's more Obi-Wan's belief that Vader should have died, but he didn't.
And he also mentions like Vader and Palpatine might have know the thought bomb, so he couldn't really interfere because his soul might actually get trapped by the thought bomb.
That's pretty much the user reasoning as for why Obi-Wan couldn't interfere in the events of the movies. So there is that. Pretty much a fear of his spirit being must have been sucked in the thought bomb, and so there's that. The only reason that he was able to interfere in Mimban, the event Splinter of Mind's Eye, was two reasons. I believe because he could only do it once, but I think the real reason is because of the lightsaber crystal that was there in those events. I think that's a real reason.
Yeah, I think the crystals in there were making Luke
Stronger.
more powerful than usual.
Yes.
That's why I think that was the justification they gave because it didn't really make sense if you read the original Splinter of the Mind's Eye that Luke somehow beat Darth Vader. So I think that was the retcon.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a comic version because the comic version is actually more in line with
Episode 5.
the current continuity. So yeah. As much as I myself I don't really like Luke and Vader fighting before episode 5, but I guess with Splinter of Mind's Eye, I give it the leeway that 1978, and they have tried to pretty much make the story smooth and better in the EU continuity. So I'm not too angry with it. So compared to say Star Wars Marvel comics from the 70s and 80s or Disney Star Wars. So there is that. So yeah, that's what this chapter 13 is pretty much all about. Obi-Wan as the Force Spirit in the events of episode 5 and making several mentions, Splinter of Mind's Eye. So
And here, when Yoda says there is another, when Obi-Wan says Luke is their last hope, Obi-Wan knew Yoda was talking about Leia, but he didn't think that Leia was that powerful enough to stop Vader and Sidious.
he thought that Luke was the only one that could truly stop both of them. He didn't seem to have much hope in Leia. Well, not hope, but definitely much confidence in Leia. Don't know why. I guess probably because he hasn't spent any time with her at all.
Yeah.
So could be that. So there is that. And chapter 14, well, this is pretty much bringing us to the present, which actually is pretty much Luke finishing construction with his lightsaber, and then the events such as the Empire in episode 6, the beginning of episode 6 happen, and it's pretty much then telling us everything else what happened during episode 6. Obi-Wan was witnessing all of it.
It took Luke long enough to make a lightsaber.
Well, yeah, we by reading Shadows of the Empire, you pretty much know how long. So, yep. So this chapter is pretty much episode 6 from the perspective of Obi-Wan. So, what do you got to say on this one, Dowan?
And let's see, the part where Obi-Wan says helps Anakin to be one with the Force again, with the Force. That part was interesting. The same way Qui-Gon taught
Obi-Wan.
Yoda, and Yoda taught Obi-Wan, and he's doing the same to Anakin.
There is that. Yeah, so that's after Anakin dies. So basically, Obi-Wan witnessed the entire lightsaber duel between Luke and Vader aboard a Death Star 2, and even witnessed the Emperor throwing lightning at Luke. Obi-Wan was actually pretty scared that Luke was going to literally become the next Darth Vader. Like, he was scared as fuck.
Here also says Obi-Wan wasn't ready to forgive Anakin, and didn't understand Qui-Gon's that words on how Anakin's way to the dark side, but now seeing how Luke helped Vader in his redemption, he finally understand on why Qui-Gon said that Obi-Wan wasn't ready to know about Anakin, and he was shocked that some part of Anakin was actually left because he thought Anakin was gone, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah, that's pretty much one of the big parts of this chapter for me. That basically Obi-Wan truly believed that Anakin was not going to do shit, that Luke was going to die for good, Vader would remain the Emperor's puppet, that nothing would change. But in a shocking twist of events, well, that Obi-Wan did not whatsoever foresee was that Vader literally sacrificed himself to save Luke, and pretty much killing the Emperor for good. And that's where Obi-Wan realized where he had failed. For unlike Luke, Obi-Wan had not only believed that Anakin was completely consumed by the dark side, but actually refused to believe that any goodness could have remained within Vader. And by refusing to allow that possibility, Obi-Wan had condemned not only his former friend, but his own capacity for hope. And that's pretty much one of the lessons that Qui-Gon pretty much had left Obi-Wan to pretty much learn.
And at the end, Obi-Wan and Yoda sees Anakin appear. As the Force goes, might have been better if Qui-Gon also appear. I'm still wondering where the hell he is, but okay.
If you notice, Qui-Gon never appeared as a Force ghost. He was only a voice. You never see him or even read about him actually appearing as a Force ghost. The only part is Episode 3 video game, the GBA and DS versions, but that's not really the canon version of those events, so it doesn't count. So,
I mean,
there's that.
Yeah, so it's kind of weird that Qui-Gon only managed to show his presence. I'm using the word show in the most weird way possible, only as a voice, while Obi-Wan and Yoda and Anakin managed to show their full appearance as blue holograms, which is weird.
So yeah, there is that indeed. It was great seeing Anakin and Obi-Wan having a discussion in the Netherworld of the Force before we saw them as Force ghosts in Endor. Like that was pretty awesome, and definitely added some more bit of info in the EU. So
good.
And that's pretty much what it is for chapter 14. Anything else mentioned on this chapter?
No.
Okay, and the epilogue is pretty much the events of Herod the Empire, where it.
Wait, isn't it Lost Command?
No, it's Herod the Empire. Lost Command is something. No, it's the events where pretty much Obi-Wan showed up to Luke Skywalker in the dream sequence. It was the last time that Obi-Wan would ever show to Luke. Obi-Wan had pretty much completely went to the netherworld of the Force, never to be heard or seen again. Like his time as a Force ghost had pretty much ended.
Uh,
So yeah, that was the last of Obi-Wan, and that's where this book ends. So
right.
yeah, so the epilogue. What do you got to say on that one?
I mean, the epilogue doesn't really do much. It's just the thing from the Throne trilogy.
Yeah. So there is that, and yeah, that's the entirety of this book. So what do you think of it, Owen?
Yeah, to be honest with this book, it does the thing of repeating instead of creating new stories. It does have its original segments, but it uses a lot of previous material and lacks original substance.
I think it's because it needed to pretty much foretell the events of not only the movies but it used sources through a perspective of Obi-Wan. So while it did its job, it definitely felt like retreading a lot of ground from the movies, and there was reason. But yeah, I can see why you say that it pretty much was repeating a lot of content. Well, I did feel that at times. I do feel that it still did a good job on pretty much expanding on what the movies did and adding several EU sources and everything. So
Yeah.
it still did good from in my end. There is that. And well, this is only the second book that Ryder Windham pretty much did that pretty much told the events of the movies from the point of view of a character. The first one was Darth Vader, The Rise and Fall of Darth Vader, which was released a year prior, 2007.
The Darth Vader book, I mean, that is good and all, but the Darth Vader book actually puts more EU sources than the movie parts. So,
Well, that is one we'll have to take a look at some other day. So there is that. And then, of course, there's the one of Luke Skywalker. So there's that too. So, yeah, but those are for another day. So this is Life and Legend of Obi-Wan Kenobi. So now let's get into the expanded universe sources for this book. And despite this book not mentioning more EU stories, it actually has plenty of EU sources in it. So
yeah, so
go ahead.
for example, the rise and fall of Darth Vader is mentioned. The part where Obi-Wan actually helps Anakin to become a Force ghost, that part is literally ripped straight from that book.
Okay, there's that. There is that
And
indeed.
let's see, Splinter of the Mind's Eye,
Yeah.
the Phantom Menace novelization where he saves the Tusken Raider.
Yeah, you can say that. The ones for me that are the biggest EU sources here are pretty much Jedi Apprentice, Jedi Quest books, but most importantly, Dark Lord Rise Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker's Walkabout, and definitely Star Wars Legacy 16.
And the comic about Emissary to Malastare, was
That
it?
one too, yeah, definitely.
And I think Star Wars Republic 59, was it, where Anakin and Ashard had. Yeah, I think that was it.
Yeah,
Star Wars Republic 59.
Star Wars Republic is pretty much referenced here, so yeah. Indeed. Apparently, the Star Wars radio dramatization is referenced here. Apparently, the radio drama from the first movie, which that's a surprise. So there is that. Shadows of the
I don't
Empire,
know.
of course, is mentioned here. There is that. Inherit the Empire. So there's those two, and
Asajj Ventress
oh yeah, her too as well. So
story. I think, what was the story? I'm trying to find out which story featured Asajj Ventress's origin.
it was, if I recall, issue. I think it was either 60, if I recall. Yeah, 60.
Yeah, 60.
Yeah, Republic issue 60. So, yeah, that's the one. And of course, the Battle of Umadaun, which Republic issues 51 and 52. Dark Lord, The Rise of Darth Vader, of course. Apparently, there's one mention of Star Wars The Last of the Jedi, which
Yeah, kind of. It does explain Obi-Wan's lifestyle after Revenge of the Sith.
I am curious on how Star Wars Kenobi will portray the lifestyle of Obi-Wan, because in this book we do have several accounts of how Obi-Wan lived in Tatooine, but Star Wars Kenobi book is gonna dive even more deeper into it. So, and that book released what, 2013, 2014?
I think it was 2013.
Okay, so it's actually going to be interesting. It will also make me wonder if it's going to actually retcon some parts of it, or actually it's going to expand on it. I assume probably expand on them. So yeah, and yeah, it was 2013 were released. So yeah, Star Wars Kenobi book's going to be interesting how it tackles it. And it's going to be more interesting how a certain TV show that's coming out in this month will deal with the events of Obi-Wan in Tatooine. That's going to be fun.
Like how it was interesting with Boba Fett.
Oh my god, that's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
So, indeed. So yeah, any other EU references you got for this one?
Not that I remember of. I don't really remember, but there was also a comic book showing Obi-Wan rescuing Luke from a sandstorm.
Yeah, it's Luke Skywalker's Walkabout.
Yeah.
So that's the one that I mentioned. Actually, Windy Starkiller or whatever the fuck he was called, because apparently it's either Windy Starkiller or some other name that they put him, like Windham Marstrap. So apparently, he was actually first mentioned in Star Wars: A New Hope novelization.
Yeah.
So there's that indeed too, and there's probably some other EU references, but we got the absolute main big ones in here.
Yeah, I agree. And Darth Maul is listed as being dead. Thanks 2008. You still had TCW coming out, but at least you didn't ruin Darth Maul.
Yeah, there is that indeed. So yeah, Darth Maul pretty much come back to that's a topic for another day. So that's gonna be fun. So yeah, anything else, Owen?
No.
Okay, then shall we get to the conclusion?
Yeah.
Okay, then let's go to the conclusion then. So you go first.
Yeah, so I think the book repeats other sources, but it gives a full important moments of Obi-Wan Kenobi's life, so I think it does a good job. Not that special though.
There is that. Yeah. Anything else?
No.
Okay, as for me, well, I do share similar thoughts on that. I do think, for the most part, besides being a compelling read, it definitely does add a bit of extra context and an extra story, and pretty much we see the perspective of Obi-Wan, what happened with the movies and the sources. So I think it's definitely worth your read, and it's pretty much a short read. It's just 140 pages. So
yeah, I think I forgot to mention this, but I think it's a good read if you want to see Obi-Wan's life, because we don't have time to read all the way to Legacy, Jedi Apprentice, or Star Wars Republic comics in State of Star Wars podcast. So we basically went through a lot of sources.
We went through a lot of sources, but obviously some of those we are going to tackle them in future State of Star Wars podcasts. But for those that don't want to literally read every single bit of the life of Obi-Wan, there's this book that pretty much it's kind of a summarized version of all of those events, which definitely does its job, and it is pretty much a good read. And yeah, I'd say definitely is worthy of a read. So, and it's pretty short, so yeah, you don't have much to lose. If you want to know what happened in the life of Obi-Wan in all 6 movies, several of your sources, even going as far as what he was doing between episodes 3 and 4, then this is one good read to go.
Yeah.
So there is that indeed. And yeah, so with that, we pretty much finish this State of Star Wars podcast. So next time we'll pretty much be starting with the Kenobi TV show. That's going to be fun. And somewhere along the lines of those, we're going to be releasing Star Wars Kenobi, the book, in podcast.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for that. And with that, we'll see you guys on the next State of Star Wars video. Bye-bye.
Bye.